me straight. Please guide my way onto the path of my deen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, I'm calling your name. Oh Allah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, dear viewers, to another one of our live episodes of Let's Talk On. I'm your host for the program, Junaid Dar. Brothers and sisters, we have a very fantastic program prepared for you today with a very important subject. And what is this subject? It's identity crisis. Now, over the last 20 years or 30 years, you can say many Muslims have left their respected countries and have gone to live out in the West or in other countries. And that means they have become minorities living in a majority Christian or not believing society. So now Muslims are having a crisis in trying to identify themselves, trying to fit in, trying to understand what are their values, where did they come from, and where are they going. Not just that, but if we be realistic, we even can say that the Muslims nowadays living in Muslim countries are also facing an identity crisis because of the system, because of the apparatus that's around us. It forces a person, or you can say it encourages a person to hide his identity and not be so outspoken about who he is and what he believes in. So we have a very sensitive subject, but we're going to be frank and we're going to be open and talk about this problem of the identity crisis. And with me, I have four very special guests, and inshallah ta'ala, they will bring their experiences and their education to the table. So let's begin by introducing them, and we'll go straight into our subject. So if we can start from the right-hand side, brother, if I can ask you to give us your name and give us some of your background, and inshallah ta'ala, we'll go around the table like that.
I'm Omar Khalid, I'm 30 years old, and I work in translation.
Welcome, thank you.
Yes, it's Muhammad Rifai. I'm 27 years, an English teacher in Experimental Language School, and graduated from Faculty of Arts.
Excellent, thank you very much. And we can ask you.
First, I want to say thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, my brother. And my name's Idris.
Thank you.
I'm American, teaching English here in Egypt, and I'm also studying Quran and Arabic at the same time.
Thank you very much. And yourself, brother?
Yes, my name is Patrick. I'm from Slovenia, but I study here in the University of MSA.
Okay, fantastic. So we have a variety of people from different backgrounds. So let's begin from the right, as it is the sunnah to do so. If I can ask you, brother, to just give us a general understanding, what comes to your mind when I say the word identity?
Well, identity is who you are. And in my opinion, it is unrelated to actions. Because sometimes we do stuff and we feel separated from them. Sometimes we do them because, as you said, brother, that sometimes when you live in the West, we do stuff or in the outside to fit in, but that's not who we are. Who we are, they are the likes, the dislikes, what gives you the tick. This is who you are.
Okay, very nice. Brother Muhammad.
Yes, let's say the word identity is very important in our life. So what does it mean? I think, from my point of view, it means the way we live. It's kind of a combination of two things: our language, and then what we believe in. So if we have got a language without believing in something, so it will be useless. So we have to get like both things going together.
Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. And if I understand correctly, both of you are from Egypt. That's correct.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, good. So you're going to represent the Egyptian view.
All right.
If I can come to this side, please, brother.
Okay.
What would you say?
For me, I think it has sort of what they were saying, but in my own different way. I think it can be what you do, but in the sense of without thinking. The things you do naturally without having to stop and think, that just come out.
Okay.
You know, this innate nature of you, and how you think, and the way you see things. So this all becomes part of your identity. The way you view things, the way you act, the way you do, your way of life. All interconnected in a small way.
Perfect. So, as you said, you're from the States, so you'll be representing the view of a minority living in a majority non-Muslim environment, and the two we have from Egypt too, coming from a Muslim environment. Yes, brother. So what would you say, Mustafa, about a Muslim or Islamic identity?
Yeah, I think that what makes an identity is the way a person or a Muslim acts in a situation or reacts to a certain situation, and what's in their hearts. What do they believe? What do they perceive? And how do they follow? certain things. Those are the things that identify a person, especially how they act, like Brother Idris said, how they act naturally, like spontaneously from their hearts.
Okay.
What comes from the inside. Yes.
Excellent. Can I just ask you, in your country, are Muslims there the majority or are they the minority?
No, in my country, actually, it's kind of mixed, but the majority is Christians. But there's I think a rough 10% is Muslim, yes.
Okay, fantastic. We've got 2 people living in the minority and 2 living in the majority. Brother Omar, can I ask you, do you think there really is an identity crisis, or do you think it's just a subject which is exaggerated?
No, I think it's not exaggerated. We have an identity crisis. And it goes back maybe to the time of the Caliphate when it went away and fell down, the Ottoman Empire. And even before this, it was called it was very weak, the Islamic Empire and so on. And this is the first time in history that we don't have a caliphate for Muslims and so on. So, and our lands were taken away from us, and other European countries took over the lands. This is not only about taking over the land. They gave us their cultures and their ideologies, and that drove away our own religion from the scene.
Okay.
So, of course, there's an identity crisis, and now it is aggravated and escalated due to several factors, also education and other factors too.
Excellent. We'll come to those factors in just a moment. Brother Muhammad, do you feel as an Egyptian Muslim that you're also facing this identity crisis?
Actually, first of all, I just want to thank Omar for saying a very important point, which is losing a leader. We need a leader to lead us towards the right track. Because maybe we have got a good religion, we have got maybe good believers, but we don't have a leader to lead us towards holding to our real identity. And this is the real problem. That's why when we're facing a real kind of identity crisis at the present time, it's just going every year, because we're not going on a right track. And for example, we can take that, for example, in education. We just taking children into nurseries and KGs and without tackling what principles and what teachings are they being taught, which is kind of would cause a lot of troubles in the time after.
Okay.
So it would take some time to overcome these problems in the future.
Okay, excellent. So we've had one perspective. Brother Idris, would you say that as an American Muslim, like you said, that the Muslims there are facing an identity crisis, or are they fully comfortable?
No, I think they're facing a barrage of identity crises from all over, and the fact that they don't know where to stand. They don't know how to look through things through sort of an Islamic lens.
Okay.
It's to the point where I think that sometimes people are entering a dangerous ground to where they prefer something that's not from Sharia over something that is from Sharia. So it's venturing on dangerous ground these days, and it's a dire, serious threat right now.
SubhanAllah. We'll look at some of the problems and the causes in just a moment. Brother Mustafa, in your country, would you say that the Muslims there are having a crisis as well?
Definitely, yes. Definitely in Slovenia there's a crisis in identity of Muslims. They, especially with young people, they tend to hide it in a way because of they just don't fit in as in their way of fitting in the society, because Islam is something that is not well known in our country, so it's being something odd, not going with the flow. So yes, in some way they're trying to hide it, which I don't think it's nice, because Islam is something so beautiful. I think that everyone should be proud to be a Muslim. Yes.
Very nice. I like the word you use there. Islam is very beautiful. Okay, Brother Muhammad, can I ask you to just tell us or inform us about some of the ways in which people, how you can identify that a person has a crisis? What are the things he does or behaves like, or what are the symptoms?
Okay, let's say as a kind of start for everybody, you can look at everyone in the face.
Okay.
Look in his eyes. You will find that maybe he has a problem with his life or something, and that would reflect on prayers and such kind of religious rituals, and that would be maybe he has a problem I don't believe in prayer, I don't believe in God. Maybe just this would kind of start this person has a real problem in his life, because this would be kind of many factors had caused this kind of problem. And at this time, you would feel like you are in real trouble, not only about the person. We're just talking about the whole society, because building the upright society, it's based in Islam, it's based on the individual. So if you're losing a person, you're losing the whole society.
Okay, excellent. So we're saying that the first signs that you can see in a person is the fact he has lack of faith, or sometimes not even any faith.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Omar, what are the other signs or symptoms that you see in people, or that clearly shows us that there's a crisis here?
I think the problem with identity comes from two ways: attachment or autonomy. Both of them, we need both of them. We need to feel autonomous and independent when we were young, and we are reared by our parents and so on. But at the same time, we need their attachments. Sometimes, and I think most of the time, one of them is more than the other. Sometimes the parents are responsible for this, and sometimes it's just the circumstances. Like, for instance, if I am raised by stressed parents, for instance, because they have diseases or they are themselves stressed, maybe I will feel isolated, and I'm not, feeling the attachment and so on. So, for my opinion, that's why I think in Islam, for instance, the orphan, that's why it's very recommended for people to take care of him. Why? Right. Not to feel this detachment. Somebody has to fill this void. And at the same time, we cannot give the attachment to a person that is so strong on the expense of not being autonomous and taking care of his own life, because he's going to get used to being dependent on other people. So the balance between these two, we can have a very solid and right identity.
Perfect. Okay.
Yes.
Brother, you want to say something, brother?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If I may, like, as long as I'm a teacher and just working in school, and I feel like there is a kind of a very important sign about having a kind of identity problem. Some guys, like maybe young guys, they stick to using a kind of another language and neglecting and putting aside their own language, which is a real crisis. I'm not talking about like learning another language, because some people maybe learn, like Patrick maybe has like maybe 3 languages, speaks 3 languages, yeah, mashallah. And many people like learning new languages, but when you stick to another language and like neglecting your own language as a kind of, it's a shame to speak Arabic and start like using some English expressions, and I know English and speak English well, this kind of feeling, it's affecting us, because like we have to be proud of our own language and learning many other languages.
Okay.
So what's the problem with that?
Okay, very nice. So the problem comes back to languages. Before we come over to you two, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to watch a short report, and then we'll come back and get your answers on the same question. So, dear brothers and sisters, let's move over to a very short report talking about the identity crisis, and then when we come back, we'll hear this side of the table's discussion and what they think of the question. So I'll see you in just a few moments.
How perfect my Allah is, and I praise Him. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah. How perfect you are, Allah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Brothers and sisters, I want to ask you guys a simple question. How important is it to you to appear as a Muslim? To look like a Muslim? Because wallahi, I make an oath by Allah, if the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'een were here today, they will not be able to tell the difference between a Muslim and a non-Muslim. This is the time that we live in today. We have no identity. And if we look into the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam specifically gave instructions. This is what the Jews do, this is what the Christians do. So instead we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the complete opposite to them. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. And today we neglect these hadiths. So we have no identity. We don't belong to anything. And subhanAllah, the amount of times I walked down the street, went past a brother, assuming he's not a Muslim, next thing you know, he turns on and he says Assalamu alaikum. He's salaming me. And I look back and I'm just thinking to myself, how on earth was I supposed to know this guy is a Muslim? How on earth am I supposed to know you're a Muslim? And this is what's happening today. So what's the benefit? Why is our dress code so important as a Muslim? So when I started practicing, a close brother of mine, he actually advised me and he said, wearing a hijab, wearing a thobe, wearing a niqab, it actually increases your taqwa. And taqwa in a nutshell is actually the consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How often we remember and we fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just before you start sinning, or just before you start free mixing with the opposite sex, or just before you start shouting and swearing in public, you realize this is who I am. I'm not a slave to this dunya, I'm not a slave to society, I'm a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you realize who you are, you realize your true identity, and this is what the clothing does. This is why appearing as a Muslim is so important. And all the non-practicing brothers and sisters that actually say, I want to get close to Allah, I want to start practicing, but it's a burden on myself, I find it difficult. Wallahi, take this advice from me. Just wearing a hijab or a thobe or a turban, people speak to you differently. And imagine if you're in a free mixing situation and you're wearing a thobe or a hijab, you never know, a sister or a brother might come up to you and they might give you advice, and that will get you even closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, we are Muslims, so be proud. Show it through your appearance, show it through your identity. And remember, we are a role model to the whole of mankind.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back after a very short report there, very important report there, showing us the importance of our identity. And yes, we should be proud, and yes, we should look like Muslims and behave like Muslims, just like the way the Prophet ﷺ was described as being the walking Quran. We should also follow in the same pursuit, in the same footsteps. Now let's go to this side of the table, Brother Mustafa.
Yes.
So how can you tell in your country, in Slovenia, there is an identity crisis?
Well, I personally can tell because from my childhood, when I was among other Muslims, I had 3 or 4 friends that were also Muslim, and most of them we're children, but most of them, they kind of hide the all Muslim act thing. Like, we act as Muslims. That's why we are Muslims. Because if you act like someone else, then you're someone else. Like when the kids used to like, you know, say bad words or do bad things, and they used to join them. We're okay, children are sometimes stupid, but still, you should control yourself. We weren't that young, if we're talking about. Another thing is when we come to the teenagers, we had this thing when they start at a certain age, because outside they start drinking and they start, you know, smoking and all that things, and they just, because they want to fit in, so they just, you know, everyone else is doing it, so why shouldn't I do it? Because we're Muslims. We're supposed to show them we're better and not do it. Maybe they should follow us. We shouldn't follow them. Just because they're majority number doesn't mean they're right. So I think that's the most obvious thing, the most obvious way we can notice, starting from the teenagers up to the grown-ups. Yes.
Excellent, very nice. Idris, let's go to the States. How can you tell there's a crisis?
Many different ways, many different things, but to narrow it down and to be, you know, in this short time that we have, it's like he said, it starts from the youth. The youth prefer, you know, the Western culture, in the sense that nothing's wrong with Western culture, but they prefer, you find them preferring the negative things from the Western culture.
Right.
Instead of pulling the positive things, because there's some positive things.
Right.
It's not all bad. Instead of pulling the positive things from the culture, they pull the negative and they prefer it, as if this is good and this is the way to go. And this grows into the adult who does the same. He prefers these things that are against the Sharia or nothing to do with us over things that are Sharia, and they don't want anything to do with the Sharia. Not fully, but certain things like riba. In other words, you know, I'm going to buy me a house. It's okay. This is the way of the West.
Right.
It's a necessity. I have to do it. I'll find an excuse and I'll do it. And many, many other ways. They insist on doing it. So they fall, and to the point where they no longer, you can no longer tell the difference between the Muslim and the non-Muslim.
Right.
And throughout history, we've always been, well, you know what? That's a Muslim, that's a non-Muslim. It's always been that way. But it's coming to the point where they can't even tell, you know, that you're Muslim. If your co-workers don't know you're Muslim, you have a problem.
SubhanAllah.
If you don't stand out as a Muslim in a good way, not a negative way, then you have a problem.
Right.
You should. If you don't, then you need to take a long look inside yourself and see what's going on with you and fix this problem.
Yeah. Very nice, thank you very much. Let's come back to this side of the table, brother. Omar, let's look at some of the causes. So before we can try to provide some solutions, I want to look at some of the causes. What do you think is the primary cause for this crisis?
Primary cause. I think the primary cause was that when I talked about the occupation of our lands and so on, they changed the culture.
Right.
And when the culture changed, we got used to it for tens of years, decades.
Right.
So even when we introduced back Islam to people, now we have like a problem now. Do we change the culture because now it's wrong, it's not going the right way, or what we do? So what happened, unfortunately, changed the religion. We made like Islam, some people of course, not all of them, I cannot have a blanket statement, that, okay, well Islam, like Brother Idris said, riba, maybe it's an excuse, we can do this is how the world works, let's do it. Okay, maybe women dress in a certain way, well this is how fashion goes, so let's do it. And Islam is about the heart, and we don't maybe the actions and so on are not very important. So I think this is what happened to us, that they changed the way of life, because actually the religion is not an appropriate translation. It's not right translation to say religion about Islam.
Right.
It's religion now, it's like millah, like Christianity or other religions, but Islam is different. It's a way of life. So you change the way of life, it's easy for them to change the religion.
Right, very nice. Okay. Brother Muhammad, what do you think are the causes to this crisis?
Yes, to start with something here, I think we live in a kind of a highly globalized world, and people travel and come back, and they have kind of trips and travelers and globetrotters all over the world. Yeah. But let's take kind of look at Egyptian people, for example. When they travel abroad, when they migrate to work in Europe or in America, and they would take kind of some cultural habits from there, and then they come back to pass it to our people in here. Maybe just travel to work or something, but they grab something maybe negative, for example, from people, and then they pass it to here. So we would hear maybe we don't have the enough knowledge to judge this is something good or bad. Yes. And this is a real problem. We don't have the knowledge, we don't have aqidah, or let's say the real deen that we believe in God or not. So we would take that thing for granted. So that will be kind of one of the causes. Okay, so taking from the West the negative aspects, like as we said, and just adhering to those and not taking the good stuff. Yes, sure, of course. They've got a lot of good stuff, and we like some of them, and we take it for example, professionally. Excellent. And in the eye of understanding and judging well. Like we have got like our minds to take things and to start like analyzing and take things and see how this goes with our religion or not. Because if something is going against our religion, I think we shouldn't take it. Okay, very nice. All right. Brothers, before we come to you, we're going to take a short break, and then you'll come and hear what you two have to say. So, dear viewers, let's take a very short break here, and then we'll come back in just a few moments to hear this side of the panel. So I'll see you in just a few moments.
How perfect my Allah is, and I praise Him. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah. How perfect you are, Allah, Subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Sheikh, I was wondering, can I ask you a question?
Be my guest.
Can I make ijtihad on my own? Is takfir an Islamic concept? Are Salafis a sect? Do I have to give da'wah to people? And is interfaith dialogue haram?
Akhi, this is not one question. These are important topics and issues that require we sit and discuss them, inshallah, thoroughly.
Actually, why don't you guys join us for these discussions on contemporary Islamic issues and concepts?
Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was here today. This is the deen show. 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 This is the deen show.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Deen Show. From time to time, we answer some of your questions. We have so many important issues that we're dealing with here on the Deen Show, and we encourage you to come back here every week. And if you don't catch us on the TV station, you can go to thedeenshow.com, where all of our shows are there.
It is important for us when we look at the issue of holiday myths that we look at the whole picture. And from the beginning of time, people worshipped the Creator in different ways. The Quran tells us in the chapter of the bee, Surah An-Nahl, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ.
Maryam, how are you?
Good, alhamdulillah.
Thank you for being with us on the Deen Show.
You're welcome.
So how old are you again?
I'm 8 years old.
I didn't want to get that wrong. 8 years old. And you've memorized how many juz of the Quran?
I memorized 21 juz from the Quran.
21 juz. MashaAllah.
As you know that there is no concept of clergyman in Islam.
There isn't?
There is not.
Okay.
And this idea is supposed to be very liberating. Nobody comes between you and your creator.
Okay.
You do not need an operator. It's a direct call. So Islam rejects the whole notion of clergyman. So a sheikh, imam is a title that is given to a person like myself when the community feels that you're worthy of it. And it's just a title out of respect.
This is the Deen, this is the Deen Show. This is the Deen Show. This is the Deen Show. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Allah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, dear viewers, after a very short break there. Joining us here in the studio, live in the studio, talking about the important subject of the identity crisis. Let's move over to this side. Brother Mustafa, if I can ask you to tell us, in your opinion, what are the causes of this crisis?
Well, the causes of this crisis are that Muslims forgot that Christianity is a religion and Judaism is a religion. Well, Islam is more than religion, it's nizam.
Okay.
Which means it's a guideline, it's throughout life. Like it's a guidance, it's there to guide you. It's more than a religion, it's actually a part of your life, it's very important. And Muslims keep forgetting that. Now the Islam, nowadays it became more like just like a religion. There's something there like, oh yeah, I'm a Muslim, you know.
Okay.
No, they're not proud of it. So they're supposed to go there when they seek for guidance, that's where they get it from. Not from an expert, not from some professional or psychologist. No, it's there. It's right there. Allah put it there, so He guides you through life. So Muslims are supposed to realize that and go back to that.
Okay, so separating religion from state.
Yes, from state, and separating religion from life, actually. It's just, you know, like you have an old suit and you put it in the closet.
Okay.
So every time you need it, you go wear it, but it's in the closet. It's not on you, and I think it should be on you all the time.
Very nice. I like that image. Brother Idris.
For me, I think the causes are many, as you said, but one of the main causes for me, and a personal one that I can attest to, is the Muslims have left their language. The language of the Quran, Lugha of the Quran. Once my teacher was giving us a lecture, and it was an amazing long lecture and detailed lecture about how everyone who entered it into bid'ah, into all of these fallacies and crazy things that were originally Muslims, if you look, the further away that you go from the language, the lugha, the pure language, away from the language, the more crazier it got. Why? Because without the understanding the Quran and what Rasulullah ﷺ was saying, you are left to go in far left field into a lot of craziness.
Okay, Brother Idris, I want to ask you just to hold your thought, because mashallah we've got a phone call all the way from Jordan. So let's hear what this contribution. Brother Jamal, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine, enjoying your show.
Thank you very much.
As usual. I would like to say one thing very important concerning underestimating how proud we are Muslims. Watching your show and other shows, especially on Huda TV, the hosts, the guests, the participants, I cannot say how much I'm proud of watching your shows and seeing all your guests. We have treasure, man. All of them are fantastic, and Muslims are good. We are not. It's true. We are behind. We are falling behind in two areas, very important. You touched on them. One is staying away from the Quran and the Sunnah and studying and understanding it as much as you can. Every Muslim is obliged to read as much as he can. No excuse. On the other hand, manners. Manners are the key for every Muslim, and that's the best example he can show to others. Not the outfit. Outfit is fine, it's important, but manners is the key. If we stick to good manners, people will come to you and say, where are you from? You say, I'm a Muslim. And that's about it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Brother Jamal, calling us all the way from Jordan. I'd like to thank you for the phone call, and I would also like to say that your comments and your praises go a long way. We are all very grateful for what you said. Me here as a presenter, and Huda TV also acknowledges your comments and the hard work as well. So thank you very much. So, Brother Idris, mashallah, all of you guys, actually, you are influencing people all the way in Jordan, and we are improving people's this identity crisis that we are talking about. So that's a good part. Brother Idris, if I can ask you to continue.
I was just following up saying that the basis for most of the deviancy and going astray and leaving, which is leaving our identity, is leaving the language, going away from it, not treating it as an important thing. Understanding Arabic is key to keeping your identity. You can't keep your identity without having, not everyone, of course, but generally speaking, the community needs to have a strong in Arabic. And anyone can learn. So,
excellent. So going back to our language, yeah?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so as Brother Jamal has opened the door nicely to the solutions, could I ask you to talk about... Brother Muhammad, yes, you're a language teacher, so you want to say something.
So I would like to add something before I come to the solutions.
Sure.
It's just about like the TV, which is like something, it has like a very bad effect on most of the people now, just in a kind of a way, which is most parents take TV in a kind of, it's a de facto babysitter now, not just something to watch what's happening around the world, which is like, if we don't like evaluate the content of what we watch on TV and evaluate it well and just not blindly accept it, it would cause a lot of trouble for the kids and for adults as well.
Okay.
I'm just talking about scenes and love scenes and all this stuff.
Okay.
All right. And when we come to the language, of course, one of the best solutions I see for me myself, we have to like support the revival of the Arabic language in schools, in clubs, like in meetings and gatherings, and in studying the Quran as well. People have to study the Quran. A lot of young guys now, they cannot read the Quran well, which is a disaster.
Okay.
So we have to work on that hard, really, really hard, because we have to learn the Quran. This is the pillar. What the Prophet left for us is the Sunnah and the Quran. This is what we build our religion on. So if we're missing this part, we're missing like all our deen.
Okay. Fantastic. Let's move over to the solutions then. If I can come to Brother Mustafa, what would you say is a possible first solution? We've had some ideas here. We had ideas from Jordan as well. What would you say, Brother Mustafa?
I say the solution is like, this is a problem, a crisis, and like as a Muslim, like you deal with every other problem. Don't go to anyone except Allah.
Very nice.
Because He is the only one that has the key to every problem you have. He has the solution to everything.
MashaAllah.
And He can read your heart, and He can read your mind, and He can sense what you are going through. And if we ask Allah to guide us, to be with us, and to help us with our identity, He will help us get stronger, and therefore will also make us feel better. It will make us be a stronger Muslim.
Excellent.
And that's how I think this is the first thing you should do, as encouraging yourself to put out the identity that you're a Muslim, I'm proud, this is my religion, and nobody can come between me and Allah.
Excellent, very nice. So the first step is to connect yourself with Allah, and the rest will follow. Very nice, Mustafa. Brother Omar, what would you say?
Yeah, for me, the power of the story. It seems weird what I'm saying, but in the Quran we have about a third of the Quran is about stories.
Nice.
Of course, they're not merely stories. We follow the footsteps of the good people and we try to avoid the bad things. Well, the point here that I want to raise is that we cannot deny that the West is preoccupying our minds and the youth and so on, the movies and so on. They get our attentions. Why? Because they play on emotions.
Right.
When they play on emotions, people they get attached to the TV and so on. And I think we cannot go away from the fact that we have to compete.
Right.
We have to have something halal that is competing with Hollywood and with all of these. It seems like a fantasy, what I'm saying right now.
So you're saying halal media?
Yes.
Okay.
And to say the right ways, and instead of like saying bad stuff and having boyfriends and girlfriends and partying and so on, we say the good things and how to do the good morality in a way that can also get the attention of people. A story and then the beginning and an end of it and suspense and so on in the good way. And this, I think it's not something that is, marginal, because at the time of the Prophet, the poets, when they used to use the language and so on, it had a very strong effect. It was the media at that time.
Right.
I think if the Prophet was at that time and the companions, they would have taken advantage of the media of that time.
Of course.
Allah.
Very nice. I like this new idea. That's something new. Brother Idris, what would you say? How can we counter this problem?
I think the brother in Jordan, in my idea, said it first. An immediate way to counter it first is to check your behaviors, your mannerism, your adab, wa akhlaq. To begin with this. This is one of the biggest ways to affect yourself and other people. To begin with this, follow this up by studying Arabic and the Quran together.
Okay.
Coupled in the end with the seerah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you do these things in a organized fashion, your life will begin to transform. You will build an identity. You will go to the tarbiyah and change to that which is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay. Very nice. Okay, so focusing primarily on manners and then also turning to
yes,
the Quran.
Manners are the huge thing. Even if you don't have knowledge, you will understand what's a good manners and that's not manners, how to be nice to people. How you don't have to be an alim to be nice to someone.
That's right.
So begin with this while you seek knowledge. Start somewhere.
Excellent. Okay. Mohammed, what else would you say? What other solutions could we bring to the table?
Solutions, actually, the solution lies in friends. So someone is going to ask me, like, how friends? When we talk about like the righteous friends, they are the ones who support you and push you towards the real religion, which is going back to the Quran, the language, belief, and the style, the lifestyle and everything. You're not going to like look at life as a kind of the luxurious life and movies you see. You're going to look in a kind of abstract idea or abstract concept about what you see in life. You are going to just think about what you see, evaluate it, judge it well, and think in a kind of in terms of Islam. So which is the friends are going to like put you on the right track with them. Just look for the good friend. A man is known by his companion. And that's what we really believe in.
Right.
So it's just about friends going up to identity. So you're losing friends, losing identity.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Brother Omar, so looking at this problem of identity crisis and bringing forward some kind of possible solutions, many people say that in order for us to understand where we are today, we have to go back in history and look at where we came from.
Yeah.
What role does history play in us finding our identity?
Very important. If we talk, for instance, about the number one superpower in the world, which is the United States, its history is about 250 years or something.
Okay.
And it's very little, time if compared with other like places, Muslim countries and so on, 1,400 years. But instead of this, the United States, they say our forefathers and our founding fathers, and they make museums and they talk about them that they are the ones who like made up the politics and the economics and Adam Smith and so on. So we are more entrenched than them.
Right.
So we have people who made like progress before they have done all of these things.
Okay.
So if we come back to history, I think we'll know how to counter their ideas and so on.
Okay, excellent. Brother Idris, some people will say that Muslims haven't contributed anything to science or to literature or to architecture. What would be your response to that?
I would say this person doesn't know history at all.
Okay.
They're only being fed what they think is the truth. Because Muslims have contributed to so many things. Even there's a Muslim sister who just contributed to this new theory with the waves, the waves they had with they're finding the Einstein theory. There's a Muslim sister from Malaysia who's a big contributor on this.
SubhanAllah.
But it's not, of course, publicized. But there are contributions from Muslim society from now and the past they would be shocked at some of the things. If they hadn't done it, your life would be completely different. You wouldn't have a lot of the comforts you even have today if it wasn't for some of the Muslims.
Okay.
So even as far as science, medicine, you name it.
Very nice.
Very rich contributions.
Good. Mustafa, how important is it? Let's stick into the subject of history, of studying the history, like the lives of the prophets or the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How important is that?
I think it's very important that we study history, Islamic history at most. And what I see now is that there's mostly education around the world. They're starting to ignore that bit by bit. Like I noticed that religion as a subject is starting to be something that is none of importance, and is something that you just have to go through it. Even if you like fail, it's okay because it's just a religion subject. I think it should be more important than that. I shouldn't think that should be extra effort or extra hours into teaching the younger people religion, because younger people are going to grow up and then they're going to be asked, like, what did you learn? Yeah, I just learned a couple of things at school. But what did you learn? And they won't even remember it, because they take it as a subject, they don't take it as something that is very important. And another thing, I think that we should study history because it would make us better Muslims ourselves. I think it's really embarrassing in my country, in Slovenia, when if a fellow Christian would come up and say, just ask me out of wonder, what does your religion talk about? And what did Prophet Muhammad ﷺ do? And I'll be like, well, he was a good man. And I wouldn't know anything to tell him. That would be embarrassing. I think that every Muslim should read and revise the history, because those times were the right times. Now, after 2000, and as time goes by, and we go more and more into the future, we go more and more into the wrong times, more and more wrong people, wrong things keep happening. You keep choosing wrong friends. So we should study history and keep that in the back of our head.
Very nice. You want to say, yeah, go
Just
ahead.
really quick
Yeah,
to
sure.
add on is, how sad is it that some societies, I won't say where, people know, that the brilliant, smart people, when they score well and they're amazing and they have critical thinking skills and they're amazing, they send them to work in any field whatsoever, whether it be engineering, doctors. And the people who just don't cut it, you know, not to say that people are stupid, but people are lacked intellect, they're the ones who they send to learn Sharia.
Okay.
So what are you producing? What do you expect from the people who are supposed to be the ulama when you're sending the lower half of intelligence of the society to learn this, and you keep away the smart people from the society? What do you think the fatwas and why are we surprised from these fatwas? We shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because you're sending the people who aren't really qualified, who don't have this critical thinking skills. Maybe they don't fit this.
Yeah.
They may fit something else. Not to say that they're stupid, but they don't fit this.
Yeah.
You need the brilliant people. You need the people who are amazing, who are top of their class, going to Sharia, because we don't value it as a society. So it's a perpetual thing.
I think that's a very, very important point that you've made there. And just on that, I want to come to, Brother Mohammed, do you want to say something?
Yes,
You've got your hand up.
yeah, if you don't mind, like, I want to say something about history. History is of paramount importance.
Yeah.
Why? Because if you don't study history well, you're going to be a prey to the wolves of disbelief.
Okay.
How come? Someone is going to tell you, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a mugger. He used to cut road. So is that correct? If you don't know the seerah, how did you do it? Like, he's going to tell you blah 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 blah, and you're gonna believe him. You don't know.
A crisis.
Or you may have doubts.
So you'll have doubts, So maybe sometime later you're gonna be an atheist or something. So you're gonna be the prey if you don't learn your history. History is a must for everyone.
Very nice. I just want to ask a question here, building upon what you said, because that's a very interesting point about the upper half and the lower half. Both of you two are Egyptians, and would it be fair to say that the people who are highly qualified or do well in education, if they go abroad for work, do they return back to the society and give back to society, or do they give where they went?
No,
Omar,
they don't come back mostly. They just don't. And I think it's because of the environment itself and Islamic countries in general. It is not encouraging for people to just think in a creative way.
Okay.
So it's hard for people.
Yeah, and Muhammad, what would you say? Would you agree or disagree?
Okay, so actually, before anyone makes up his mind, so he's going to look for examples, for maybe a friend or something. So someone stayed here for maybe like 10 years and he hasn't achieved anything. So it became like useless. So it's not worth a while to stay in Egypt, so I'm going to travel. This is number one. Number two, there's a kind of a brainwash, like what we can say, or a brain drain. So like at developed countries, they take our like the good mentalities and to work there, and they have like the good atmosphere, like the good relaxing one to find everything, facilities and everything to work well. But here, like for example, you would find some difficulties and you would give up early. So this would be one of the main reasons.
SubhanAllah. So we're saying that the best of the best go into professional fields, and at the same time then they leave the Muslim countries and they go and give their services to other countries. SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
Double whammy, isn't it?
Yes. This is all part of the identity crisis.
Identity
we need
crisis.
to find, the brilliant people need to find ways to fix this problem, to reverse it. And of course, we've mentioned a few, but they need to figure out not just these theories that we have and like thinking of a way. We need to find ways to make the action, get the wheel going.
Practical solutions.
Yes, because we can talk about it until Yom Al-Qiyamah, but it won't help us until we start having some practical solutions and start implementing them.
Okay, excellent. So we had a good discussion on history, so we've looked at the past. I want to now move to the future. Let's start with yourself, Brother Mustafa.
Yes.
How can we, as Muslims, connect ourselves with where we are going, the purpose of our life? How can we connect?
Well, the first thing is, as I mentioned before, when you think about doing anything in the future, think how Allah would see you doing that. How will He? What will this action mean to Him when you're doing that? In every action or in every decision a Muslim makes, he must always go back and think, what does this make to me as a Muslim? The job you take, the people you choose to be with, the friends you have, they all reflect on how are you as a Muslim and how Allah sees you as dealing with those situations, because Allah will constantly giving you tests. He'll keep putting you with people or putting constraints in front of you to see how you deal with the situation, and in order to see if you're really a Muslim or not. So
Okay.
I think in the future, when you choose a wife, when you choose friends, a job, you should always consider that Allah is watching you, and at the same time is testing you in every step you do.
Okay.
If you're a
excellent.
Muslim by heart, you're going to know how to deal with the situation. You won't be questioning anything. And if you need help, you can always go to Allah. He's there 24/7, and He never stops listening to you.
Okay, mashallah, thank you very much. Brother Omar, if we try to rectify this problem, solve this problem of the crisis, would you say that connecting with the Ummah, Muslims all across the world, if they stop thinking of being American or British or Egyptian and thought of one Ummah, would that be a solution?
Actually, before you ask this question, my brother Idris, when he mentioned that practical solution about scientists and so on, I was thinking about this, and I thought about it before, how to coordinate between different scientists from amongst different nationalities, even away from governments, how to deal with this. And this is the same way that Europe did after the Crusaders came to our countries. They brought up and translated our science and kept that science, and after that they worked on it for the upcoming years. So I think at that time we need this. The West, they have very, very good knowledge and very different topics. So like cosmology and so on, and technology and so on. So we have to translate this, and we have to understand this,
Mashallah.
and to build upon it,
Very nice.
and to go further, and to do the best for our nations. And so
So you come with two very creative solutions, halal films and now translating the works. Mashallah, very nice. Brother Muhammad, what would you say?
Yeah, I would like to say that we would start from the very beginning. Like Omar said, we need a leader first to lead us towards the real track. We'll just having a good aqidah and teach the young ones the real aqidah and knowledge about our religion.
Okay.
And second part is talking about knowledge, and we would work on knowledge a lot, and having a kind of we may reconsider how schools going. For example, what I'm talking about is talking about mixed schools. If we have boys and girls at the same school, so we would work on teaching these guys how to deal with each other.
Okay.
Because most of them, they show no respect. Okay, and this was a bad effect on each other. So and some may end up at the end of the day, like Omar said, having a boyfriend or a girlfriend, which is not in our culture or our religion. So we would work on that a lot, having the whole Ummah working as a kind of unified team and going together.
All right, great. Brother Idris, we've just got under 2 minutes, so you've got a minute each. Starting with yourself, brother. What would you say, or is the importance of us connecting with Muslims across the world? Like, mashallah, we had a phone call from Jordan, and we've never met the brother, but we were so happy to hear his phone call. How important is it for us to connect?
I think it's everything important. It's, in my opinion, the nationalism is the new tribalism. You know, like as the Prophet said, the asabi is a disease. It has taken over. It's become the synonym for tribalism. It's building a barrier between us. It's a way to divide and conquer, as they say. In English, we have the saying, divide and conquer.
That's right.
So we never unify, or we fight and bicker over things that are secondary and don't even acquire our attention now, but we insist on fighting over them.
Okay.
So we need to, I think, build this brotherhood and break apart this. You know, it's okay to be happy and proud where you're from, but in the right context.
Let's connect.
Yes.
Okay, Brother Mustafa, you don't have a minute, but you have 10 seconds. So what would you say very quickly how we can resolve this problem?
Well, mostly, like you all mentioned, is connect. That we Muslim, we keep our religion and we talk about it. We talk a lot more about it. And there's this Facebook. You have new ways of communicating.
Excellent.
Like you have Facebook, you have Twitter. Make a group. Make an Islamic group. Anyone has a question, goes there. Ask
Excellent.
a question. Should be professionals to
I'm
answer.
going to have to stop you there. You did have a minute, but Brother Idris took a bit longer.
That's okay.
Okay, we've come to the end of the program, dear brothers. I'd like to thank you all again, Brother Omar, Muhammad, Idris, Mustafa. Thank you very much for coming and sharing with us your expertise and your experiences as well. Dear viewers, we've come to the end of our program. What a fantastic program, looking at the identity crisis. And subhanAllah, it's a very sensitive subject, but yet we must be open and we must be frank. And mashallah, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. And a special thank goes out to our caller Jamal, called all the way from Jordan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to unite us all again. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us strong again, so that we become the leaders of the world, just like the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked us to do so. Brothers and sisters, I conclude here, and I thank you all for watching. I will see you at the same time, at the same place, next week. So until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How perfect my Allah is, and I praise Him. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah. How perfect you are, Allah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah. How perfect you are, Allah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, I'm calling your name, Allah. I call you, I need you, Allahu Akbar, Allah. Your mercy is great.